The keeper of the lighthouse. On a jagged stretch of coastline where the waves crashed relentlessly against the rocks, there stood a lighthouse, ancient and unyielding, yet strangely silent. The lighthouse had been operating for decades, its flashing light guiding ships safely away from the dangerous cliffs. But now the keeper, a man named Elias, was the sole occupant of the tower, his only company the wind howling through the narrow windows and the ocean's eternal roar. Elias had been sent to the lighthouse for what was supposed to be a short term. The previous keeper had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, his boat found adrift with no sign of struggle. Despite this unsettling event, Elias had taken the position, convinced it was merely an unfortunate accident. He was used to isolation and found peace in the solitude, or so he thought. The first few days were uneventful, marked only by the monotonous duties of maintaining the light and checking the equipment. But as the sun dipped below the horizon on the fourth evening, Elias noticed something strange. The lighthouse light flickered, casting a brief, unnatural shadow against the cliffs below. At first, he thought it was just the storm rolling in, but something didn't sit right. He checked the light's mechanism, but it was fine, nothing out of place. Then he heard it, a low, guttural sound from the sea. It was unlike anything he'd ever heard, too deep, too rhythmic, almost like a voice, but not human. Elias stood frozen by the window, staring out into the dark expanse of water, his pulse quickening. His mind raced. Was it the wind? No, this sound was deliberate, almost calling to him. He turned to leave, but the floorboards creaked beneath his feet, echoing through the tower. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as a chilling draft swept through the room, and a whisper, faint and distant, seemed to come from the very walls themselves. Elias. He whipped around, heart pounding in his chest. The tower was empty, but the voice had come from inside, not outside. Terrified, Elias tried to convince himself it was just the isolation getting to him, but each passing night grew more unnerving. The sounds from the sea intensified. Sometimes he would hear his name whispered from the shadows. Other times, faint footsteps echoed through the spiral staircase as if someone or something was walking up behind him. On the sixth night, Elias went down to the beach, determined to see if the source of the noises was just some trick of the environment. But as he reached the rocky shore, he froze. In the water, illuminated by the dim light of the lighthouse, he saw them. Figures, pale and twisted, emerged from the waves, their faces hollow, eyes black as coal. They didn't walk, they glided, their bodies moving unnaturally as if they were not of this world. Elias stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat, his eyes locked with one of the figures, its lips curled into a grotesque smile. Suddenly he understood. These were the spirits of the men who had perished over the years, drawn to the lighthouse, seeking to claim the soul of the next keeper. And now it was his turn. As the figures surrounded him, Elias felt an icy hand on his shoulder. The whisper came again, louder now. Elias, you were always meant to join us. And then everything went dark. The next morning, the lighthouse stood silent. The light had not flashed, and no one had seen Elias since. His boat was found adrift, just like the others before him, with only one difference. The light was gone, and the shadows stretched unnaturally long. Pause, like, and subscribe.